Today, we're diving into a really provocative career guide that comes from a popular Korean lecture. And let me tell you, it's a philosophy that pretty much challenges everything we're taught about chasing your dreams and forging your own path. So let's get right into it.
Wow. Right out of the gate, we get hit with this incredibly bold claim. Not a high chance of failure, not a friendly warning, but a 100% guarantee. Now, this isn't just some clickbaity hook. It's actually the entire foundation for a very specific and pretty radical worldview about our roles in society.
So, to really get our heads around the logic behind a statement that intense, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with that 100% failure guarantee, then explore this idea of two paths for intellectuals. After that, we'll see how it all fits into a society's grand design, what that means for the interview of tomorrow, and finally, we'll look at why it all comes down to purpose over paycheck.
All right, let's tackle this head on. Why such a dire prediction? Why tell aspiring entrepreneurs they're doomed from the start? Well, it's not really about being pessimistic. It's about a worldview that sees society as a system with some very fundamental, almost unchangeable rules. Yeah, the source material does not pull any punches here. For a certain type of person, trying to launch a startup isn't seen as a brave, courageous risk. It's called a foolish act. And it's one that's predicted to lead not just to your own failure, but to drag your entire family down into hardship. So who exactly is this warning for? Well, that's where things get really interesting.
And that question leads us right to the absolute core of this whole argument. The idea is that for what this lecture calls intellectuals, basically educated people, there are two fundamentally different paths in life. And here's the kicker. The path you're supposed to take isn't really a choice. It's pretty much predetermined by your background.
Okay, so check this out. The terms conservative and progressive here have nothing to do with politics. It's all about your socioeconomic starting line. A conservative intellectual is someone who comes from a family with capital, with resources. For them, entrepreneurship is actually seen as a form of study. They have a safety net, they can afford to fail and learn from it. But a progressive intellectual, well, they come from a family whose main asset is knowledge and education. There's no big financial safety net. For them, failure isn't a lesson, it's a disaster.
So, for the vast majority of graduates, the so-called progressive intellectuals, the path is laid out very clearly. You must not start a business. Instead, your study has to continue by joining a company that's already established. Your role is to learn the ropes, apply what you know, and contribute from inside the system. And this isn't framed as, settling. It's presented as the only logical, responsible path to a good life. So, how does this all scale up from an individual career choice to a vision for an entire society? Well, it's not just about what you or I should do. It's about a kind of symbiotic relationship that's designed to make the whole country prosper.
In this model, the role of the conservative class, the people with the financial resources, is super specific. Their job is to hold and then provide the capital. They're the ones who supply the economic fuel that makes everything else run. And the progressive class? They have an equally crucial job. They are the idea generators, the planners, the ones who draw up the blueprints. Their knowledge is pretty useless without funding, just like a pile of cash is useless without a great idea to spend it on.
And you can see how the whole system is supposed to work right here. The progressives design the engine, they present their blueprints, then the conservatives see those brilliant plans and provide the fuel to get the engine started. According to this philosophy, when these two groups stick to their roles, the economy just hums along and everyone benefits. If you try to disrupt that flow, you risk breaking the entire machine.
Okay, so let's bring this grand sweeping theory down to something a little more personal, the job interview. Because if this worldview is even remotely correct, then the way we hire people has to go through a massive change. Think about it. The old way of hiring is all about testing what you've memorized, your skills, your academic grades, but that's quickly becoming obsolete. The new way, this lecture argues, is to test for something way deeper, a candidate's core philosophy, their worldview. In the original Korean, the word is sasang. So why this huge shift?
So really, why doesn't just knowing a ton of facts matter as much anymore? Why isn't the person with the perfect grades automatically the best person for the job? The answer is actually pretty simple, but really powerful. It's because a computer can recall information thousands of times better than any human ever could. We just can't compete in that arena anymore. But what a computer can't have, what is uniquely, powerfully human, is a philosophy, a set of guiding principles, a purpose, and that is the new currency.
And this just completely changes the kinds of questions you'd get in an interview. Forget what are your greatest weaknesses, the questions become bigger. They're more profound.
What is your purpose? How do you see yourself contributing to something larger than yourself, to society, to the nation, to humanity, through this company?
Okay, so this leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. The kind of mindset the ideal job candidate is supposed to have in this new world, especially when it comes to the trickiest topic of all, money.
All right, so picture it. You're in this new type of interview. You've just explained your grand vision for contributing to humanity, and then the hiring manager leans forward and asks, "So, what are your salary expectations?" What do you say?
According to this lecture, the correct answer is a total demonstration of trust in the system. You don't name a number, you actually defer to the company's judgment. You say you're confident that your compensation will match the value you create. It's a radical idea for sure, and it signals a very specific way of thinking.
And the reason this answer is considered so powerful in this philosophy is that it signals your main drive isn't just to earn money, it's to contribute real value. It shows you believe in the company's mission and that you trust them to reward you fairly for your part in it. You basically become the perfect gear in that societal machine we were talking about.
So, let's just quickly recap the core principles of this very unconventional guide. First, entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. It's a specific role for those with a capital safety net. Second, a healthy society needs a perfect balance between those who provide the money and those who provide the ideas. Third, in the future, what you believe will matter way more than what you know. And finally, maybe true success isn't about breaking the mold, but about finding your correct place within it and contributing with purpose.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. Our whole culture celebrates the disruptor, the rule breaker, the person who goes it alone. But this philosophy suggests the complete opposite, that true success and harmony, for you and for society, comes from understanding and embracing your designated role. It's a challenging idea and definitely one worth thinking about.